Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. India and Russia vow to work together for a future shaped by peace, partnership and progress, ink 16 agreements in key fields. Cancellation and delay of domestic flights of IndiGo enters fifth day. Government issues new directives, orders probe. Railways come to the rescue, adds extra coaches. US Supreme Court agrees to hear case challenging birthright citizenship after Trump's controversial order was blocked by multiple lower courts. Pakistan and Afghanistan exchange heavy fire along the line of control. 4 civilians killed amid heightened tensions following failed peace talks. And India snapped 20-match toss-losing streak, opt to bowl against South Africa in series deciding third ODI. Tilak Verma comes in for Washington Sundar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin of Russia held wide-ranging talks in New Delhi on Friday, reaffirming the depth and continuity of India-Russia ties. From strategic cooperation to global peace efforts, the two leaders reviewed key areas of partnership during President Putin's state visit. Amritpal Singh and Jessica Taneja report.
Against the backdrop of warmth and trust built over decades, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin came together at Hyderabad House in New Delhi, reaffirming the enduring friendship between India and Russia. Handshakes reflected history and conversations reflected the future as the two leaders began high-level bilateral talks during President Putin's two-day state visit to India. Prime Minister Modi said that India and Russia share deep-rooted historical ties and that President Putin's visit holds special significance, marking 25 years since his first official visit to India in 2001.
एक्सेलेंसी, आपकी यात्रा बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक है। 2001 में जब आपने कार्यभार संभाला और भारत की आपकी यात्रा पहली हुई, उसको आज 25 साल हो गए और उस पहली यात्रा में ही स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की एक मजबूत नींव रखी गई थी।
Prime Minister described President Putin as a visionary leader and said the strength of India-Russia relations reflects that vision.
एक्सेलेंसी, मैं मानता हूं कि ये जो 2001 में आपने जो भूमिका अदा की, एक विजनरी लीडर कैसे सोचता है, कहां से शुरू करता है और संबंधों को कहां तक पहुंचा सकता है, इसका एक उत्तम उदाहरण भारत रशिया के संबंध है।
On the Ukraine conflict, Prime Minister Modi reiterated that India stands firmly on the side of peace and assured that India supports all global efforts aimed at restoring peace.
आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। यूक्रेन के संबंध में भारत ने शुरुआत से शांति का पक्ष रखा है। हम इस विषय के शांतिपूर्ण और स्थायी समाधान के लिए किए जा रहे सभी प्रयासों का स्वागत करते हैं। भारत सदैव अपना योगदान देने के लिए तैयार रहा है और आगे भी रहेगा।
President Vladimir Putin thanked India for its constructive role and attention towards peace initiatives related to Ukraine. President Putin also highlighted the expanding scope of cooperation between India and Russia across sectors such as defense, space, artificial intelligence, high technology, and aircraft development.
In the joint statement that we've adopted with Mr. Modi, We've delineated the priority objectives on the further reinforcements of our ties in the politics and security, economy, trade, in humanitarian and cultural spheres. As you saw for yourself, we have signed an impressive package of intergovernmental, interagency and corporate agreements. Many of those agreements are intended to broaden the economic cooperation between Russia and India. And this is entirely natural due to the fact that our countries are important partners of one another in trade, investment and technologies.
President Vladimir Putin offered floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat, honoring Bapu's legacy and teachings. Mahatma Gandhi had several connections with Russia, which form part of the shared history of our two countries. Earlier, President Putin was accorded a ceremonial guard of honor at Rashtrapati Bhavan. With renewed resolve and shared purpose, India and Russia look ahead to a future shaped by peace, partnership and progress. With Amritpal and Jessica, Bureau Report, DD India.
India and Russia sealed a wide-ranging package of agreements and a joint statement in New Delhi on Friday, reaffirming their special and privileged strategic partnership and setting an ambitious economic, technological and connectivity agenda.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin oversaw the adoption of a Vision 2030 framework. Multiple MOUs on trade, energy, connectivity and people-to-people exchanges and a joint press statement addressing defense, nuclear and space cooperation. Building on the earlier framework announced by the two leaders to deepen industrial, technological and investment ties. The two leaders outlined a core outcome to guide trade and economic partnership up to 2030 to address the trade imbalance, promote Indian exports, and diversify cooperation into high technology sectors, digital transformation, and critical infrastructure. 16 MOUs and agreements were signed by the two leaders. 2 MOUs on manpower mobility to regulate skilled Indian worker movement, recruitment, protection and vocational training. Agreement on joint urea production to bolster India's fertilizer security and agricultural supply chains. MOU on training Indian seafarers for polar and Arctic waters, aiding Northern Sea Route participation. Shipbuilding cooperation framework for joint design, technology transfer, local manufacturing, and maritime infrastructure. Cooperation on critical minerals and supply chains for clean energy, electronics, and advanced manufacturing. Connectivity efforts highlighted support for the international North-South transport corridor and maritime routes to enhance supply chain efficiency. Energy cooperation emphasized Russia's role in India's energy security across hydrocarbons, LNG, coal, nuclear fuel, and hydrogen. The economic goals include higher bilateral trade volumes by 2030, targeting $100 billion and broader Indian exports. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Prime Minister Modi and President Putin addressed the India-Russia Business Forum in New Delhi, highlighting defense, nuclear energy, trade and counter-terror cooperation. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya has more.
A spirit of friendship and strategic trust marked the India-Russia Business Forum in New Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the forum in New Delhi following their delegation-level talks at Hyderabad House during President Putin's first India visit in 4 years.
बिजनेस हो या डिप्लोमेसी, किसी भी साझेदारी की नींव आपसी विश्वास है। भारत रूस संबंधों की सबसे बड़ी शक्ति यही विश्वास है। ये हमारे साझे प्रयासों को दिशा भी देता है और गति भी देता है। यही वह लॉन्च पैड है जो हमें नए सपनों, नई आकांक्षाओं की उड़ान भरने के लिए प्रेरित करता है।
Prime Minister Modi announced that after defense and space, India now plans to open the civil nuclear sector to private players as well, calling it a major mindset reform. He expressed confidence that the ambitious target of $100 billion in bilateral trade by 2030 could be achieved ahead of schedule.
पिछले वर्ष राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मैंने 2030 तक द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को $100 बिलियन का उस लक्ष्य को पार करने का हमने निर्धार किया था। लेकिन कल से मेरी जो राष्ट्रपति पुतिन से बात हो रही है और जिस प्रकार के पोटेंशियल नजर आ रहे हैं, मुझे नहीं लगता कि हमें 2030 तक इंतजार करना पड़ेगा। मैं साफ देख रहा हूं, हम उस लक्ष्य को समय से पहला पूरा करने के संकल्प के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और मेरा विश्वास बढ़ रहा है।
President Putin praised India for pursuing an independent and sovereign policy with strong results. Both leaders announced that India and Russia have finalized an economic cooperation program until 2030 to diversify trade and strengthen long-term business ties, with energy remaining a key pillar of cooperation.
Today, the Indian economy is one of the fastest growing in the world. Figures speak for themselves. Over a decade, the GDP of the country has almost doubled, and in terms of the purchasing power parity, it increased by 2.5 times. Thanks to the sound economic policy and such landmark initiatives by Prime Minister Modi as Make in India program, India is strengthening its technological sovereignty.
Prime Minister Modi also revealed that both sides will work towards the early conclusion of a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. On terror, PM Modi said, India and Russia stand shoulder to shoulder against the global threat of terrorism, emphasizing that it is an attack on humanity itself. President Putin reaffirmed Russia's readiness to ensure uninterrupted fuel supplies to India and explore cooperation in nuclear and energy infrastructure. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
And reactions from both Russian and Indian business leaders poured in with regards to India-Russia Business Forum meeting. They have, by and large, praised the endeavour, saying that there is a huge potential of business collaborations between both countries, and they heap praise on the political leadership of both the countries. Take a listen.
Both leaders has incredible relationship. Country has the partnership for decades, and this partnership is kind of a strategic privilege partnership, and that was also created by the attitude of the leaders towards each other, and that stimulates companies, businesses, and communities to work together. India shows tremendous results in the growth of its economy, and I think that it's going to be one of the most important superpowers soon. And those programs that were initiated by His Excellency the Prime Minister, like Make in India, Make India Smart, the industrial corridors, the transformation and modernization of the basic infrastructure, railways, and Make India Clean, Make India Smart, development of education, that really brings very good perspectives for country.
Mr. Modi, he is a great leader. He is changing the face of India. This you can see, number one. And number two, he have great relations with President Putin. He is the friend of President Putin, and I am sure that under leadership of Prime Minister Modi, India have really bright future, and I have no doubts about it.
All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. We'll walk you through the key moments of Russian President Putin's visit to India, the discussions held, and the areas of cooperation highlighted by both sides. Ukraine-US hold constructive discussions to meet for third day for talks in Miami.
So our episode is on accountability more than just an apology text.
Yep.
We didn't get one, did we?
If no British politician has the courage to issue an apology, get somebody from the royal family to do it, because after all, everything was done in the name of the crown. No one likes to be told that in their family tree there are a lot of skeletons. They have never allowed themselves to confront the horrors of their past, so I'm sorry to say we never got the apology. There is not just amnesia on the part of the British, the colonizers, but there is some forgetfulness or ignorance on the part of the rest of us too.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. So Russian President Vladimir Putin wraps up his visit to India. Let's talk about the key moments of the visit and agreement signed. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former senior diplomat, joins us on the broadcast for more. Welcome, sir. Appreciate you giving us your precious time. Ambassador, Vladimir Putin has wrapped up his two-day visit to India. Tell us, what were the standout moments that defined the tone of this trip?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. You know, the state visit of Russian President Vladimir Putin to Delhi on December 4th, 5th, 2025 for the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit is a strong signal to the world, particularly to the United States and its allies, that the long-standing India-Russia partnership remains resilient. A central message from the visit was that India maintains strategic autonomy and has multiple foreign policy options, while Russia demonstrated that it is not internationally isolated despite Western pressure. So the visit occurred after the US had imposed tariffs on India for its continued purchase of Russian crude oil. By proceeding with a high-profile visit, India demonstrated that external coercion would not compromise its strategic partnership with Russia. And this approach aligns with India's established foreign policy of multi-alignment, allowing it to maintain relationships with major powers and avoid entanglement in bloc-based rivalries. So India effectively signaled its commitment to charting an independent foreign policy path. Let me mention that India's determination to resist US and Western pressure and host Putin was a strong assertion of its strategic autonomy and the prioritization of its core national interests, particularly in energy and defense. So the West must modify its approach towards India and avoid pressure tactics. India operates, as I said earlier, on the principle of strategic autonomy, prioritizing national interests, and therefore it views external pressure as a vestige of a colonial mindset. Ignoring these factors, these risks, undermines a crucial partnership for global stability. Let me also mention that the world is no longer unipolar, and India is a rising power that contributes to a multipolar system. And the West needs to engage with India as an equal partner, respecting its independent stance in forums like BRICS and G20, rather than expecting absolute alignment. In a nutshell, you know, India has demonstrated its ability to build consensus on different global issues. And despite the deep divides between the West and Russia in regard to the Ukraine conflict, India has maintained equanimity and a posture which equidistances itself from both sides. And this highlights its importance as a diplomatic player.
Ambassador Dayal, also I'm talking about the economic roadmap. India and Russia, they finalized a 5-year economic roadmap. What are the key features of this plan, and also how does it aim to cushion both sides against the US tariffs and the sanctions?
You know, the summit focused on solidifying economic ties, including the uninterrupted shipment of Russian oil and the use of the rupee and the ruble for trade settlements. And this is to bypass Western sanctions and the dollar-based financial system. The two sides agreed on an economic cooperation program until 2030, aiming for a bilateral trade target of $100 billion. And Russia assured uninterrupted shipments of fuel, reinforcing its role as a reliable energy supplier, despite Western efforts to curb the trade. Let me mention that agreements were signed across diverse sectors, including nuclear energy, space, critical minerals, healthcare, tourism. Let me also mention that India announced that there would be free e-visas for Russian nationals, and also discussed the development of transport corridors like the international North-South transport corridor. So ultimately, the visit demonstrated the depth and the resilience of the India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership, which is rooted in mutual trust and respect for each other's national interest. So there was another important discussion, which is about the Chennai-Vladivostok corridor, the international North-South transport corridor, to streamline the flow of goods and reduce transportation barriers.
Ambassador, they are also, the optics, the red carpet welcome, private banquet and the state dinner were strong. What signals were India and Russia trying to send to the international community?
Well, a very important signal relates to defense cooperation. India reaffirmed its long-standing defense cooperation ties with Russia, which remains its primary source of military equipment. And there were discussions on new contracts for submarines and fighter jets and joint production initiatives, despite American pressure to diversify. So while no new major deals were announced during the summit, the discussions and agreements laid a strong foundation for future cooperation that moves beyond a traditional buyer-seller dynamic towards a more integrated defense industrial partnership. So Putin's visit was significant for the defense ties because it shifted the focus from direct arms purchases to joint development and production of military equipment, aligning with India's Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Ambassador, they are also, if you talk about the holistic view, how do both sides describe the current status of the partnership, India and Russia, and how does this visit of Vladimir Putin fit into that larger timeline?
You referred to the red carpet welcome. The red carpet welcome and PM Modi's description of their friendship as a guiding star also sent a powerful message that Russia retains a major diplomatic role and is a major diplomatic partner for us, and not just existing in an isolated global-centric environment, an environment dominated by the Western narrative. So the West has been trying to completely isolate Russia due to several factors, but it has not been able to do so, and a significant number of countries in the global south, including economic giants like China and India, have remained neutral or continue to engage with Russia. So this sort of sends across the correct picture rather than what the Western media always tries to convey.
Yes, and also, Ambassador Dayal, a strong bonhomie was also seen between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Does that also make a difference? And also, how do diplomatic visits of this nature help maintain continuity in long-standing bilateral relationships?
Well, it is an effort on the part of both India and Russia to maintain continuity in their bilateral relationship. And India's decision to host President Putin was a calculated interest-based diplomatic move that prioritized national strategic and economic needs. So New Delhi was able to send out a clear signal that Russia remains a time-tested partner and that India will maintain a consistent foreign policy, prioritizing its national interests over Western geopolitical alignments and demands. So the unequivocal message from Putin's visit is that India has options in its foreign policy and that it retains strategic autonomy. The message also was that India will resist Western pressure to dilute or downgrade its long-standing relationship with Russia.
Absolutely. Russia remains a time-tested partner of India. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your insights, Ambassador Dayal.
Thank you so much.
Moving on, the US Supreme Court has agreed to decide the legality of President Donald Trump's directive to restrict birthright citizenship in the United States. The Supreme Court will hear the Justice Department's appeal of a lower court decision that stopped Trump's order. That order would have told US agencies not to recognize citizenship for children born in the US if neither parent is a US citizen nor a legal permanent resident or a green card holder. The lower court ruled that Trump's policy violated the US Constitution's 14th Amendment and a federal law codifying birthright citizenship rights in a class action lawsuit by parents and children whose citizenship is threatened by the directive.
We can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason.
All right, shifting focus now. Ukrainian negotiator Rustem Umerov and Andrei Natov and President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner will hold a third straight day of talks in Miami on Saturday. According to a joint statement issued separately by Umerov and the U.S. State Department, U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy held constructive discussions with Ukraine's senior negotiator in Florida on Friday. In a post on X, Witkoff said both parties agreed that real progress towards any agreement depends on Russia's readiness to show serious commitment to long-term peace. The US and Ukrainian officials also agreed on the framework of security arrangements and discussed necessary deterrence capabilities to sustain a lasting peace. The talks come after Witkoff and Kushner met Russian President Putin at the Kremlin on Tuesday to discuss a US plan but rejected parts of the proposal. Now, Ukraine's energy ministry on Saturday said that Russian drone and missile attacks struck energy infrastructure across 8 regions of Ukraine, causing widespread blackouts. Repair work is underway where conditions allow, and energy companies are working to restore power. Authorities are advising residents to follow safety guidelines while repair work continues. An overnight exchange of fire at one of the main Pakistan-Afghanistan border crossings killed 4 civilians, as per an Afghanistan official on Saturday. This comes as part of a latest flare-up since the deadly clashes in October. Afghan Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid in a statement said Pakistani forces launched attacks in Spin Boldak district of the Kandahar province, while a spokesman for Pakistan's Prime Minister accused Afghan forces of unprovoked firing along the Chaman border. In a statement, spokesman Musharraf Zaidi said Pakistan remains fully alert and committed to ensuring its territorial integrity and the safety of our citizens. The exchange occurred just days after a recent round of peace talks which failed to yield substantial results. Time now for another short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Nation pays tribute to B.R. Ambedkar on Mahaparinirvan Divas. Top leaders honour his legacy at Parliament lawns. And tourist rush surges in Kulu Manali ahead of the festive season.
geopolitics and trade deals, economic challenges amid development, hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. India and Russia vow to work together for a future shaped by peace, partnership and progress, inked 16 agreements in key fields. Cancellation and delay of domestic flights of IndiGo enters fifth day. Government issues new directives, orders probe, railways come to the rescue, adds extra coaches. US Supreme Court agrees to hear a case challenging birthright citizenship after Trump's controversial order was blocked by multiple lower courts. Pakistan and Afghanistan exchange heavy fire along the line of control. 4 civilians killed amid heightened tensions following failed peace talks. And the Ministry of Civil Aviation has imposed strict fare caps on all airlines operating on routes affected by IndiGo's ongoing operational disruption, citing unusually high airfares as opportunistic pricing. An official directive mandates immediate compliance with prescribed upper limits until normalcy is restored. And the move aims to shield distressed passengers, especially senior citizens, students and patients who have financial burden due to the crisis. The ministry will monitor real-time fare data in coordination with airlines and online travel agencies, promising swift action against violations. The intervention underscores the government's commitment to pricing discipline and passenger protection in times of airline distress. Along with this, there is a special passenger support and refund cell has also been made to ensure seamless grievance redressal. IndiGo has been instructed to set up dedicated passenger support and refund facilitation cells. A special move to assurance on baggage handling. The ministry has directed IndiGo to ensure that all baggage that was separated from passengers due to cancellations or delays is traced and delivered to the passenger's residential or chosen address within the next 48 hours. Even this morning, air travel across India was in turmoil for a fifth day after many flights got cancelled or delayed again. In a bid to improve air travel safety, Indian authorities have introduced new, stricter regulations limiting pilot flying times and placing tighter restrictions on their operation of nighttime flights. But IndiGo admitted it failed to plan properly ahead of a November 1st deadline for the measure's introduction. With air travel now approaching its December peak, that has forced widespread flight cancellations this week that have stranded thousands of travellers. A large number of passengers are facing inconvenience across the country.
It is very ridiculous. They are asking us to stay for 2 days. Where shall we stay? Who is going to pay the expenses of the hotels and all? They are not paying any expenses. Simply they are saying you need to stay for another 2 days. Once the flights are starting, then you can move from here. So what to do right now? They should refund the money. While booking, they should think all about this. Whether their staff is going on the leave or whatever they are doing. They are on the strike or whatever. Still they are taking the booking. Then how can it be? Why the people should suffer for it?
I was stranded in Kolkata and Hyderabad for 2 days. By anyhow mean, I came from other airline, and then my luggage is still lost, and I'm here standing for my luggage from past 2 days.
With the mass cancellation of flights by IndiGo and fares of other airlines skyrocketing, Indian Railways has come to the rescue, added 116 extra coaches to 37 trains, mostly in Southern Railway, Northern Railway and Western Railway. The coaches included 2-tier, 3-tier and chair car AC coaches. More coaches would be added to trains heading to other destinations soon. The officials said the berths would be allotted on a first-come, first-served basis, as the reservation for these extra coaches were not accessed to the computerized reservation system yet. In total, the arrangements are expected to handle 35,000 passengers per day, ensuring connectivity for nearly 26 lakh passengers during this period. All right, ED India Shubhendu Ghosh joins us to talk more on this from the newsroom. Shubhendu, what's the situation on the ground right now? We saw passengers are still unhappy. How widespread are the delays and cancellations since morning?
Hello, Abhishek. Well, the crisis regarding IndiGo flight operations continues. The complaints that the passengers have had for the past 4th day, it enters the 5th day now. Over 1,000 flights of IndiGo have been cancelled in these days, and that crisis is going to continue for some time. It's been acknowledged by the IndiGo CEO himself, saying that till about February next year, it will take time for them to stabilize the disruptions that have come in. At the heart of the issue lies IndiGo's inability to adapt to a new reform that was introduced. It's called Flight Duty Time Limitation, FDTL. Although this reform has been put in abeyance by the government now, it was meant to ensure that the crew, the pilots, their issues of fatigue can be addressed significantly. The time that they take to take breaks in a week, how much can they fly at night? Those were some of the resolutions. But given that IndiGo is in fact the largest domestic airline in the country, covering about 65% of the air passengers in the country, even 10% disruption resulted in over 200 flights getting cancelled every day and thousands of passengers being stranded, as is the case still is. But the government has also stepped in a significant way. Ministry of Civil Aviation, Abhishek, has particularly tried to address the issue of peak pricing. Unusually high prices are being noticed by some airlines amidst this crisis of IndiGo Airlines, and government has introduced for this timeline, it's used this regulatory power to enforce a fair price cap. So till this crisis is resolved, airlines will not be able to charge unusually high fares, particularly on some routes that are prominently impacted by IndiGo's operation failure. Meanwhile, to IndiGo, the government, the ministry has directed very clearly that the refunds have to be issued for all the cancelled flights. The refunds has to be issued. A clear timeline has been given by 8 p.m. tomorrow, Sunday, 7th of December. All the pending refunds must be cleared by IndiGo. Also, passengers who are trying to reschedule, if their flight is able to reschedule, no additional charges should be borne by the passengers. Instructions have also been given to IndiGo to ensure well-being of the vulnerable sections of the passengers, particularly students, senior citizens, people with health issues. Although the crowd swelling in some of the major airports in Delhi who were planning to travel by IndiGo Airlines, but the government has directed that even despite the challenges, the convenience, the safety of passengers cannot be compromised.
Absolutely. But Shubhendu, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has imposed strict fare caps. You have also told us how the measures are being taken by the government. But when do we expect the situation to ease, and is there any clarity on how soon normal schedules can resume?
Abhishek, given that IndiGo was in fact the only airline which was impacted so badly, it's given its size, which is both its strength and weakness. It controls about 65% of the domestic aviation market, flies around 2,200 broadly number of flights every day, which is much higher than any other airline in the country, and therefore IndiGo had to prepare better, particularly vis-a-vis its staff and administration, in view of the reform that was introduced by the government. But the government has put the FDTL reform in abeyance for now to give some relief to the aviation sector, to IndiGo Airlines in particular, although it has said that passenger convenience and airline safety cannot be compromised at any cost. In view of these relaxations, IndiGo has said that it will still need time to adapt to improving the crisis at the moment. Remember, it is also the festive season. It's going to be New Year's. People travel during winter vacation, so the crowd swell. Crisis coming at this time really makes the problem bigger than it usually is any other time of the year. So February next year is when IndiGo says it will be able to resolve these operational challenges. Meanwhile, other airlines are stepping up. They're trying to accommodate more passengers. Indian Railways, as you mentioned, has also come to the rescue, fares being relatively cheaper and the services being credible. In that sense, passengers do have an alternative, but it has been advised that all passengers, especially who had booked themselves on IndiGo Airlines, should brace for disruptions, should have essential supplies with them while they're traveling to the airport, because they may have to wait for a longer duration. And most importantly, before they leave their homes, they should check if their flight is on or is being cancelled. So there are things that the passengers themselves can do to bring some ease in the days ahead.
Absolutely, and next few days, Shubhendu, will be very crucial if people are planning to travel. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest on that story, Shubhendu. Moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said that India has freedom of choice in its relationships while stressing the doctrine of strategic autonomy. At a leadership summit, Dr. Jaishankar addressed key diplomatic issues including India's ties with Russia, the US trade deal and relations with China, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a balanced foreign policy amidst a complex geopolitical landscape. Dr. Jaishankar emphasized the importance of maintaining a strong relationship with major nations including Russia given the current geopolitical environment. Dr. Jaishankar said that Russia has been a steadfast ally of India for years.
If you look at India-Russia, the world has seen a lot of ups and downs in the last 70-80 years. I've said this before and I'll say it again. India-Russia has actually been among the steadiest big relationships, big power or big country relationships in the world. I mean, even Russia's own relationship with China or US or Europe has had its ups and downs. Our relationships with many of these countries have had it so. But one, where Russia is concerned, and I think you can see that also in popular sentiment. There is a feeling in the streets about Russia.
Moving on, President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other leaders paid floral tribute to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar at Parliament lawn on his death anniversary. The day is also marked as Mahaparinirvan Divas, when Indians pay respect and gratitude to the man who fought for the rights of the depressed community and against the scourge of untouchability. On his death anniversary, the countrymen reflect on Ambedkar's teachings and give heartfelt homage to his legacy of laying the foundation stone of a fair and inclusive Indian society for all. Later, Prime Minister Modi on X wrote, and I quote him here, remembering Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar on Mahaparinirvan Divas, his visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to justice, equality and constitutionalism continue to guide our national journey. He inspired generations to uphold human dignity and strengthen democratic values. May his ideals keep lighting our path as we work towards building a Viksit Bharat. Unquote. Let's now take a look at other stories making news. Tamil Nadu laid foundation stone for a new handloom park in Ariyalur district. The project aims to boost the traditional handloom sector and provide enhanced livelihood opportunities for local weavers. The handloom park is expected to bring modern infrastructure, improved working conditions and better market access for artisans in the region. Archaeologists have uncovered extensive remains of a major Buddhist complex in Baramulla, Jammu and Kashmir. Initial findings suggest that the site once housed a significant Buddhist establishment featuring structural remains, artifacts and architectural elements that point to the region's rich Buddhist heritage. A major fire broke out at a manufacturing unit in Hardoi district. Dense smoke was seen rising from the unit as workers and nearby residents alerted authorities. Several fire tenders were immediately rushed to the spot to douse the blaze. The ban on tourist entry at Kumbhakarai Falls in Theni district of Tamil Nadu continues as heavy rains in the Western Ghats have triggered persistent flooding in the region. According to local authorities, strong water flow and continuous rise in water levels have made the area unsafe for the visitors. Forest and revenue officials have been stationed near the entry points to prevent tourists from approaching the falls. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Spirited Indian junior men's hockey team beat Belgium in a high-octane quarter-final clash at Junior World Cup. FIFA World Cup 2026 groups unveiled, 48 teams divided into 12 groups of 4.
In today's episode, let's take a look at what does it truly mean to eat sustainably.
We add the already colonized mycelium into this ecosystem for basically helping the ecosystem to thrive more.
We're a public institution. Our goal is to grow vegetables.
Some urban areas already combine city and rural elements. Our urban agriculture programs are designed to tackle food security and meet the nutritional needs of the poor.
If you're prepared to love the land and the animals and don't see living such a life as making a sacrifice, then this is the right profession for you.
After gaining some knowledge about farming, I told myself, let's quit this and start our own business. And I decided to start goat farming.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Maharaj and some more stories. Wildfires in Australia's New South Wales burnt through thousands of hectares of bushland, prompting the authorities to urge evacuations at the highest danger rating for thousands of residents in the nation's most populous state. More than 70 bushfires were burning across the state late on Saturday. The blaze had burnt through almost 10,000 hectares of the land. Now, Netflix has agreed to buy Warner Brothers Discovery's TV and film studios and streaming division for $72 billion. This deal would hand control of one of Hollywood's most prized and oldest assets to the streaming pioneer that has upended the media industry. The agreement follows a week-long bidding war where Netflix seized the lead with a nearly $28 a share offer that eclipsed Paramount Skydance's nearly $24 bid for the whole of Warner Brothers Discovery, including the cable TV assets slated for a spin-off. Warner Brothers Discovery shares closed at $24.5 on Thursday, giving it a market value of $61 billion. While some members of Congress deemed Netflix's proposed acquisition an antitrust nightmare for consumers and creators, while the company touted the deal as driving value for viewers, workers and shareholders. Netflix said the deal would create jobs and give its 300 million subscribers more bang for the buck by adding content. India is stepping confidently into the front lines of global technology development. As part of this rising tech momentum, the country is gearing up to host the prestigious AI Impact Summit in February 2026. India is rapidly emerging as a major force in cutting-edge technologies, including AI, semiconductors and drones. As part of this push, the AI Impact Summit will be held in February 2026, showcasing India's leadership in shaping future tech. In the run-up to the summit, more than 200 events have been organized nationwide, similar to the G20 model of nationwide engagement. More than 200,000 students and researchers have already participated, gaining exposure to global technological trends. Andhra Pradesh, like other states, is an integral part of this journey, with new data centers rising across India. And the government stresses that these data centers form the backbone of future productivity and tech-driven growth. The arrival of groups from South India for Kashi Tamil Sangamam 4.0 continues. On Saturday, the third group from Tamil Nadu, consisting of writers, reached Varanasi railway station by a special train. As soon as they arrived, they were accorded a grand welcome. They were greeted with the cultural warmth of Kashi. The traditional welcome at the station filled the Tamil delegation with great enthusiasm. According to the scheduled program, the group from Tamil Nadu will visit Sri Kashi Vishwanath Dham on Saturday for prayers and rituals. After this, they will tour the Ganga riverfront, ghats and prominent cultural and educational sites of the city. The purpose of the Kashi Tamil Sangamam is to revive the ancient cultural, religious and educational connections between Kashi and Tamil Nadu. This is the fourth edition, with representatives from various fields participating. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. Updates on India versus South Africa, third ODI in Visakhapatnam. Indian pacer Arshdeep Singh delivered a wicket in the very first over of the match, dismissing South Africa opener Ryan Rickelton for a duck. Protea skipper Temba Bavuma and Quinton de Kock, who has smashed a 50, steadied the ship for the visitors after the early jolt. Earlier, Indian captain KL Rahul won the toss and opted to bowl in the series decider. Rahul broke a streak of 20 consecutive tosses lost in ODI cricket for the Indian team. India have made just one change in their playing 11. Tilak Verma has come in for Washington Sundar. Meanwhile, South Africa have made a couple of forced changes as well. Ryan Rickelton and Othniel Botman come into the 11 after Tony De Zorzi and Nandre Berger were ruled out with hamstring injuries. Ashes now. The second test is being played at Gaba. England bundled Australia out for 511 on day 3 of the ongoing second Ashes test in Brisbane. The Aussies took a massive lead of 177 before getting bundled out. For Australia, pacer Mitchell Starc became the highest run scorer with his 77-run knock. All the 11 batters managed to reach double figures, which has happened for the first time for Australia since 1992. In the second innings, England openers Crawley and Duckett have given visitors a decent start. The match will now head into the last session after dinner. From cricket to hockey now, spirited Indian junior men's hockey team held their nerves to beat Belgium 2-2 in a high-octane quarter-final clash at the Hockey Men's Junior World Cup in Chennai. Princedeep Singh was the hero of the match with some incredible saves in the shootout that brought about glimpses of his coach P.R. Sujesh, the former custodian of Indian senior team. Next up, India will take on 7-time champion Germany in the semi-finals on 7th December. Football now. The FIFA World Cup 2026 group stage was mapped out after a glittering final draw ceremony in Washington, D.C.'s John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts on Friday night. The 2026 World Cup will kick off on June 11 with joint host Mexico playing South Africa at the newly renovated Azteca Stadium. Fellow hosts the United States and Canada will join the party the next day against Paraguay and a playoff. South Africa are appearing for the first time since 2010, while the Scots are appearing in the finals for the first time since 1998. England will start against Croatia, who beat them in 2018 semi-finals. Defending champions Argentina were grouped with Algeria, Austria and Jordan. France's first game will be against Senegal in a repeat of one of the biggest tournament upsets. The 48 teams have been divided into 12 groups of 4 to produce a mammoth 104-match schedule across 16 cities in US, Canada and Mexico. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.